So once your frames are unpackaged, the first thing you want to do is lay your frames out in the proper orientation. You can tell what the orientation should be by looking at the label. The label is going to tell you whether it's a right frame, a top frame, a bottom frame, or a left frame. The next step is to go ahead and take the corner keys that are supplied, and there's a little tab on here that you want to make sure that you remove before inserting it into the frame. And what that's going to do is prevent dimpling of the frame on the outside. We can go ahead and insert them, and preferably I like to go ahead and insert them in all four corners of the frame. Not all the way, just partially into the frame. This is going to help keep the frame upright when you get to the point where you're going to start gluing. Now the next step is to start the gluing process. Put a little bit of glue, don't need a lot of this glue on the frame, but we're going to actually glue the corner key itself and the inside webs of the frame. Then we're going to slide the corner key in together, hold this for about 12 seconds, and then I'm going to let it go, and my corner is going to stay in place and I can move on to the next corner. Be careful when you're positioning your frame and you lift it from the table or the floor that you do it a little bit gingerly, because the cutout is the weakest portion of the frame. To assist me in doing this, I have positioned some blocks, of which I can add more or less blocks and shims to get it centered correctly on the door. As you can see, I'm a little bit low on the right-hand side, so all I'm going to do is take a shim out of my pouch, slide it underneath the frame, and that's going to allow me to position my frame height-wise correctly for the right side of the frame, which is where I'm going to put my first fastener. And I'm just going to get my screws started in the frame, and then I'm going to grab two more wood shims, and I'm going to use this as a gauge flush with the inside of the opening, and I'm going to use this gauge all the way up and down the shutter. Screw into the door. Next fastener, I'm going to go up to the top. So now we're going to install our third fastener, bottom right-hand corner of the frame. And then one more up by the handle. And that completes our right side screws. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this reverse wood clamp on there, just enough to give it some support. And then I'm going to go ahead and remove my blocks that I had already in position. New Duracatch system. It has a number 2 square head hole in there. I can go ahead and push down, quarter turn, and retract. So I'm going to do that on the bottom and the top of the panel. So now I'm going to go ahead and install the panel in the frame. Now the weight of my frame is being supported by the jack. Put my hinge pins in. So if I look at my spacing here versus my spacing down at the bottom, so I'm a little bit tight down at the bottom. So I can use my clamp now, make an adjustment, and there we go. So now we're ready to go ahead and place the next fastener. This one's at the top left corner. My left side is actually supported by both the top screw and my clamp at the bottom. Check to make sure I'm happy with the position of the frame. Looks good. Same routine down at the bottom. I'm going to put one more screw down at the very bottom. Everything still looks good at the top. We've got 2 fasteners in our left side frame. I can go ahead and remove this clamp. Next fastener will be in the center portion of the opening here. And if I need to pull this in, I can pull it in or push it out. We're pretty good there in the center. I'm just going to give it a little snug inside. Now we have that fastener in place. Check for position. Now we move on to the last fastener on this side. Now we have our left and our right side fasteners installed. And finish installing our fasteners to hold our top and bottom frame in place. Bottom left, bottom right. That completes our fastener part of the installation. I'm going to take the panel off. So now I want to adjust my Duracatch locks at the top and bottom of the panel. And I'm just going to depress the catch, turn it back my quarter of a turn, and you can see it's now retracted out. I'm also going to do the bottom of the panel as well. Turn it a quarter turn, let it retract back out. Now I've got a little resistance there. Put the French door panel back in the frame, reinsert my hinge pins, and what I can see here is that I have a little bit of resistance at the top and bottom. It snaps into place. So there's 2 other final adjustments that you can make to close spacing or gaps between the panels and the frames. We can use the hinge shim between the flange of the hinge to actually bring the hinge in closer to the side frame on the opposite side. That'll close the gap there. And also the bushing, we can use to lift the panel on the hinge side, and all we do is insert the bushing in between the 2 barrels of the hinge, like so, and we can drop the hinge pin right down inside it. Go ahead and do the finishing touches, which include installing the cover caps for your installation screws. And the last finishing touch, which is really nice to do for your customers, use a little bit of a matching caulk to actually fill in some of the little imperfections in the miters and just give them a real finished look. Whenever we're working with a companion shutter, we want to make sure that we set our heights of our corners the same going across. So I'm going to put a little level up here. Smaller level, the better. When I notice with the level is I'm a little bit high, so I'm going to go ahead and pull out one of my shims that I have down at the bottom of the shutter. And now what that's done for me is got me perfectly level. So I know that's the elevation that I want, so both shutters will align.